Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over some of the most common bad habits of Fortnite players. We're not just going to be focusing on one specific skill, such as aim, building, positioning, or game sense, but more so touching a little bit on all of them. And since these bad habits are so common, limiting or even totally eliminating them from your game should help you become a much better player. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so to start this video off, the first bad habit that I want to cover is over-peaking and peaking predictably in fights. You may think that this is a tip that only applies to close range engagements, but I want to mainly focus on how it's really common in medium and long range fights as well. One of the most common ways that players use their AR in Fortnite is by shooting it while sitting behind cover and only exposing as little of their player model as possible. Obviously, that's a way better option than just shooting out in the open and exposing your whole body, but a lot of people mistakenly feel like they're invincible when doing this, and that's very far from the truth. First off, when you're aiming down sights and shooting with an AR, you're pretty much forced into being a very stationary and very easy to hit target. This is mainly due to mechanics in the game like first shot accuracy and bloom, which work way better the less you move. I almost feel like a lot of the time, it can be harder to hit an enemy that's moving and jumping even if they have their entire body exposed, than it is to hit someone who's only peeking their head but isn't moving at all. And to add on to that, when you're only peeking your head above a structure, it's obviously going to make you way more likely to be headshotted. And in Fortnite, with pretty much every weapon having a 2.0 headshot multiplier, that's obviously a really big deal. Even at 200 health, with headshots, you can be 3-shotted by a bunch of the ARs in the game, and 1-shotted by pretty much every sniper rifle in the game as well. And speaking of snipers, even though I personally don't snipe all that much myself, I can tell you it's about 5 times harder to hit an enemy that's running, jumping, and generally moving unpredictably than it is to hit someone peeking over a ramp while shooting their AR. Plus, now that all the snipers in the game have the bullet trajectory of the heavy sniper, it's easier than ever to actually hit those snipes. That's why if you're a player that feels like you get beamed, melted, or sniped more than anybody else, it's probably at least somewhat due to you over-peaking in fights. So what can you do to avoid the bad habit of over-peaking? First off, the only time you should ever be peeking in medium to long range fights is when you're actually shooting your weapon. Seems simple enough, but so many players will peek their head out for extended periods of time, either trying to line up shots or scout for enemies. And when you do that, you're not dealing damage, but now you're open to taking it or even getting sniped. Next, you need to make sure that even when you're shooting your AR at enemies who are out in the open, to not stay fully stationary. It's so tempting, especially with how annoying bloom can be, to just stay totally still and shoot a bunch of your shots with first shot accuracy. Especially in situations where there's something like 2 full teams fighting each other in front of you, so it's basically target practice. And you also feel like there's no chance anybody will focus on you when there's so much chaos going on in front of you. But when you do that, all it takes is one player out of your field of vision to lock onto you, and you may end up downed before you can even react. That's why you'll notice that the really good players will almost always stay slightly mobile while peeking and shooting. Not anything crazy, but just enough to where snipers will struggle to land a snipe, and players with ARs won't be able to easily land multiple shots in a row. Moving on, let's talk about a very common bad habit regarding close-range gunfights in Fortnite. In my How to Abuse Aim Assist video I made back in December, I quickly mentioned that a lot of players over-rely on their SMG in close-range fights. I want to go more in depth about what I mean by that because it's something that can almost make it impossible for you to consistently win close and mainly point-blank range fights. So the weapon and inventory setup that the vast majority of Fortnite players use is obviously AR, shotgun, SMG. And the reasoning behind it is fairly simple in theory. Use the AR for anything medium or long range, and then the shotgun and SMG for close and point blank range. In a perfect world, in those close range fights, you'll hit a very high damage shotgun shot that makes the enemy incredibly weak, and then you'll switch to your SMG to clean up the kill. But as I'm sure all of us are reminded on a daily basis while playing Fortnite, it's very rarely as simple as that. I feel like because this mindset of shotgun to SMG has been burned into the minds of the Fortnite community, so many players almost go on autopilot in point-blank range fights. And there's basically two levels of how bad this bad habit can be. The worst example of it is the players who shoot their pump shotgun and then immediately switch their SMG no matter what happened with the shotgun shot. In point-blank range fights, you need to think of shotguns as scissors and SMGs as paper. In a fair 1v1 fight between two evenly skilled players, the shotgun is going to beat the SMG pretty much every single time. So if you miss your shotgun shot but then still immediately swap to your SMG, you're now in a situation where you're very likely to lose that fight. Especially now that players almost always build to protect themselves and even make edit plays in close range fights, good luck landing the necessary 5+ SMG shots that you're gonna need to get a kill most of the time. And the other slightly better yet still negative version of this bad habit is the players who immediately switch to their SMG anytime they hit their pump shot. Now, you may be wondering, why is that a negative thing? I mean, as I stated a little earlier, the ultimate goal of shotgun SMG is to hit a high damage pump shot and then switch to your SMG to clean up the kill. Well, the problem is, when that pump shot ends up doing something like 40 or 50 damage, you're now trying to spray down an enemy that could easily still have 150+ health. And this bad habit is bad enough when you're just doing it during even 50-50 fights, but it can be even worse in certain other situations. Let me give you a super common example of something that gets players killed all the time. They'll have 2 to 3 levels of high ground over an opponent, they'll hit a pump shot for maybe 60 or 70 damage, then they'll switch to their SMG and drop down to try to finish the kill. What a smart enemy will do is just build a few walls to block the damage, wait until you burn through the entire SMG clip, and then easily build up, and now they have the high ground. So basically, you never really want to get caught with an SMG in a 1v1 fight unless the enemy is, I'd say, maybe 50 health or under. Good players simply aren't going to let you hit more than 2 or 3 shots in a row before they're able to fully protect themselves. So you need to make sure you're taking advantage of the burst damage and one-shot ability of the pump shotgun as much as possible. In fair 50-50 fights, it's so much better to shotgun, build, and then shotgun again than it is to shotgun and then SMG spray while praying that the enemy misses their pump shot. And the final bad habit that we're going to quickly cover in this video today is being stupidly aggressive against players in a 1x1. Especially in squads or duos, trying to kill someone in a 1x1 puts you in one of the most exposed positions possible. That's because not only do you have to worry about the player in front of you in the 1x1, but you also have to worry about potentially being third-partied from your back. In the past, this wasn't as bad because the majority of players who were forced into a 1x1 would only know how to turtle and play defense. So basically, if you could get their wall or inside of their box, it was an easy kill. But what you're starting to see now is that players are becoming really comfortable playing offense from inside of their box. You'll see me make plays all the time where I'll intentionally let someone destroy my wall, and instead of focusing on replacing it, I'll just shoot my pump shotgun instead. Or if the enemy destroys my wall but can't replace it, I'll just immediately edit a window and pump them that way. Plus, players are smart enough now to where even if you can get in their box, they'll just spam traps on all the walls, which will pretty much guarantee your death. Worrying about all that while also having to keep your back exposed to potential third-partiers can definitely be a recipe for disaster, so you need to be alert and creative while pressuring someone in a 1x1. This is especially true if you're a player that plays on high ping and really struggles to get wall replaces. If you fail to replace the same wall more than 2 or 3 times in a row, you need to get creative and try something different. Try doing a coordinated push with your teammates. If you're alone, weaken multiple walls at the same time, and try to make them guess wrong about which one you're going to destroy. Or even use items like clingers or dynamite. There's so many things you can do that are better than just mindlessly W-keying the same wall and hoping a miracle happens. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down the comment section below. This video is about bad habits in Fortnite, so I want to know, what is your Fortnite bad habit? Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.